Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to tonight's episode of Doop on the Volley. I'm Jimmy, that's Paul. We've got another action-packed episode for you where we're talking about a new Union signing, we're talking about some Leagues Cup action, and we've got a Friday night game at the Soup against Montreal tomorrow, something we seldomly have here in Philadelphia, Friday night soccer. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys are super excited for our first episode back in quite a while. Before we jump in, let's throw it over to Paul. Paul, how you doing this week? I know it's been busy for you, but it's good to talk to you and good to talk some Union soccer with you.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, thank you. I'm really excited to be back talking Union soccer with everyone who watches us. It's been like you said, it's been a minute, but we're back and ready to do what we do and do what we love.
Yeah, absolutely, and the team's kind of picked it up a little bit in the last couple weeks too, progressing through Leagues Cup quite nicely with a win over Charlotte and a draw, or I guess a loss in PKs against Cruz Azul. But regardless, Union make it through to the knockout stages once again, where they'll face Montreal again on Friday night for the third time this season. But before we jump into that and kind of preview that game and preview what Jim Curtin was talking about in his press conference a little bit, I think most importantly, it's time to talk about a new signing for the Philadelphia Union. After rumors for the last couple days, the Union finally announced today, and from my understanding, a little bit earlier than was anticipated, the signing of Danley Jean-Jacques from Metz in League One. It's, from my perspective, a pretty intriguing and exciting signing, though I think it is maybe not one that catches your attention right off the bat. But before we kind of dig into this signing and who Danley is and where he's come from and how he's going to fit into the team, Paul, what was your initial reactions when the news on this started to break, and how are you just feeling right off the bat about the signing of Danley?
I'm excited. I think this is the type of signing that the Union will be making. Obviously, everyone wants that big signing like Griezmann, Giroud, players like that. But like I said in the chat earlier, they're all going to go to your Miamis, your New Yorks, your LAs. So if the Union want to show ambition, I think this is the types of signings that they need to do, and they did it. So I'm really excited. I think obviously he's a midfielder. We'll get more into that, but some players might have to leave before he really puts himself into a big part of this team. But with the talent we have in the midfield, I feel like he'll be able to develop well around. And all in all, I'm just really excited to see how this signing grows.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Me too. I think you hit the nail on the head there that this, I think we've all talked about the type of signings we've wanted to see Union make, especially with how business is done elsewhere around the league. But the matter of the fact is that the Union have their model and they're going to stick to it, and it seems like they're very set on that, and that's how they're going to operate. And I think you said it perfectly when this is the type of signing we need to look and expect Union to make. Not someone that is going to immediately come across your screen and catch your attention. Someone you've got to kind of do a little bit of digging on, but somebody that has some experience in a real top league over in Europe and has proven throughout his career that he's able to put good effort in for his team. And I think that's kind of one of the things I saw a lot of people saying when the rumors were starting to swirl, is that he's one of those guys, like a lot of Union players, that the effort is there. He's somebody that's not going to stop. He's going to do what's asked of him. And we know how important that is in a Jim Curtin system. So who is Danley Jean-Jacques? First of all, I have to apologize for the pronunciation on that. French is not anywhere close to my preferred language, and I'm probably butchering that. I'm sure Paul can take a better whack at it in a little bit. But he is a 24-year-old midfielder of Haitian descent. He does have experience both in League One, playing for Metz last season, starting 33 games, and also has 5 caps for the Haitian national team as well in CONCACAF play. So for me, that's a huge plus. It's somebody that has real quality experience under their belt, not somebody that's on the fringe getting 15 20 minutes here or there. They're starting lots of games throughout the season. Ernst Tanner, one of the very few things he said about him in the little blurb that the team put out was that he he is quick and a physical player who fits our style of play and has the ability to make an immediate impact. And he is a quite big player, and he looks to be quite strong. So again, Paul, I think we kind of looked at Danley and we kind of have an idea of what type of midfielder he is, but maybe you can, clue us in a little bit on that. From my perspective, he looks to be a little bit more defensive, but anything that you're picking out from kind of things that you've looked over in the last couple of days?
Yeah, from when I've looked at it, he looks like he could be, I guess, if El Brujo ever leaves, he will be that El Brujo replacement. But I know El Brujo loves it here in Philly, so we'll see how that goes. He like you said, he's really more defensive minded, and I can completely agree with that. And that's really all I got. I know it's not a lot. I have to do more research into him, but he's really a defensive-minded midfielder. I think depending on who we play in that diamond, he'll slot in perfectly. Like I guess with like a Jack McGlynn or a Quinn Sullivan, he'll be good to come in and fill that other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was kind of looking at, I'm not super familiar with Mets or how they play or how they line up, but just kind of looking over some formations and some rosters that they've had from last season. It kind of seems like they like to really kind of overload their midfield with like 4 or 5 midfielders across the line. Obviously, some playing a little bit deeper or higher up, but it looked like Danley played on the right side of their midfield quite a bit, which also plays really well into Ali Bedoya and his contract ending at the end of this season too. A few people have put out there that he seems to be a little bit more of an 8 than a 6, which is a little interesting to me when you do kind of dissect his stats and where he kind of ranks high amongst players of his position. He is a mostly defensive player. That's where his stats do shine, specifically in things like tackles, duels won, blocks, recoveries. But one stat that did kind of stick out to me from the attacking sense or offensive sense at least is his ability to play long balls. And we know someone like Jose Martinez, who's great defensively, is relied on a bit to collect the ball in the midfield and kind of start the attack by playing that long ball. So hopefully, he can play a number of roles in that midfield and kind of shapeshift to where he needs to play. But I guess my question for you right now, and I know, like you said, this is kind of dependent on people coming and going or whatever, but how quickly do you actually see him fitting into this team, and where do you think Jim Curtin tries to play him? Is it going to be on that right side of the diamond where Ali Bedoya sometimes plays? I know, obviously Quinn Sullivan's back from duty, so that's taking up the left side of the diamond. Is he going to play where Jose Martinez plays? What are you thinking? And what does it kind of depend on in order for him to get some real frequent quality minutes in Union's team?
So I guess right off the bat, my first theory of this signing, I wonder if this has to do anything with Leon Flock's contract expiring at the end of the season, and depending on how well, I guess, negotiations are going with that, because they would need Flock's more of a defensive-minded guy, and essentially you're, I guess, swapping the two if things are going negative with Leon Flock. So I guess that's my first thought. I do see him playing on in the Bedoya role, like the right midfield. I know Quinn's been playing over there, but I know Curtin's been playing Quinn up top a little bit lately, so I wonder if they're still trying that experiment out. So, in regards to when he's playing, I really think it depends. I know it's not really answer. I think it depends on Bedoya and Flock, and I guess everyone leaving. But maybe slowly integrate his playing time through as the season ends and see how he is, and then maybe next year he could be thrown into the starting 11.
Yeah, to me it feels like you're right. There are a number of players this could be seen as a direct replacement for. We've talked about, you said Leon Flock, his contract being up and kind of rumblings of maybe him wanting to go back to Europe. Ali Bedoya, same thing. His contract is ending. And then obviously Jose Martinez has had some interest from Mexican teams. Likewise of Jack McGlynn. That's something Jim Curtin talked about today in his press conferences, that they've received calls for both Jack McGlynn and Nate Harriel after their performances in the Olympics for the U.S. So there could be a number of spots in this midfield that need filling come probably not this window, but come, when we're picking up preseason in late January or early February, whatever it is. So I think you're right. I think there is a number of roles that we could see DJJ play in this Union side. And I think it is going to be kind of dependent on who goes and who stays. But I think one thing that I'm really excited about, and I think that fits well in the system, is Union their problem hasn't been scoring goals this season. They've scored quite a good amount of goals. I think maybe 8th or 7th best in MLS. But they're conceding an outrageous amount of goals, especially for a team that set their record last couple seasons. So, in my opinion, adding a midfielder who really shores up things above that back line, especially with having Andre Blake back, especially if it's a game where you're up, you need to keep from conceding, which we've seen Union do so many times this year. I really like having a defensive-minded midfielder that's strong, aggressive. I feel like I'm saying all the things that I really liked about Andres Perea, but hopefully this one works out a little bit better and he has a little bit more experience. So just to kind of cap that off, Paul, with Danley, with the addition of Sam Adeniran into the roster as well. I asked this on Twitter. I want to get your opinion. If that is all Union do in this window, and there are rumblings of a third signing potentially coming from Ernst Tanner, if it's just the two, how do you kind of rate Union's transfer window for the summer so far, and how that kind of puts them going into a playoff run down the line?
Yeah, so we all know it was a big it was a big window coming in, especially with Carranza leaving. You really didn't have your striker depth. You had Ura, you had Baribo, you have Chris Donovan Anderson, but we really needed that, I guess, third guy that I don't want to say not proven, like not Donovan Anderson are not proven, but I guess like one of those guys that you can rely on, I guess. It's not the term I want, but I guess that's the term I'll use. I guess basically like your Corey Burke that we've been missing ever since he departed. Adeniran has been absolutely huge in the time he's played. I really enjoy his pace and I guess his constant press. He, as you guys know, he helped the Gazdag equalizer on Sunday night.
Absolutely.
So I'd give this a 6.5, 7, dependent on the third signing.
Cool.
I think it's a really good window. The fees that they've gotten both these players for, I think, are tremendous value. Really good window by Tanner and the Union.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I think I'm right around like a 6.5. I like the signing of Sam Adeniran. The one thing that I'm a little cautious about is obviously he could up and leave after this season, and
yes.
I think I'm still okay with him being like a 6-month loan deal to get us through the end of the season, get us through playoffs, and then you can really kind of, spend the winter kind of identifying who you really want to bring in for your third option if Mikalua is not coming back or whatever that ends up being, because his contract is up at the end of this season with an option for the club to take one more year as well. So it's a huge half year for him too. But I think I agree with you on the window. I'm not overly stoked about it. I don't think it pushes Union to the next bracket, to a contender. But I do think that it makes them better. I really do. I think that if you look at this team now in comparison to even just a couple weeks ago, obviously barring all the people away and on injury and stuff, I think the team does look a little bit more fit for a tournament. And so just to kind of recap this signing, the things that really stick out to me positives, you can occupy a number of roles in that midfield spot, either as a 6 or an 8. He adds depth, not only adds depth, but like we just said, improves the 20-man roster or 23-man roster if you're in Leagues Cup immediately. He gives that coverage for a departing ex-player, Bedoya, Martinez, Flock, whoever. And then also the League One and the CONCACAF experience is a huge plus and something that should help him integrate well into a Union side. So last thing I'll say on him before we kind of move on to the Montreal game is that he is waiting for some his P1 visa, which that process we know cannot, it can take a while. But from my understanding, it seems like as soon as that is done, he will occupy an international roster spot for the Union. And in addition to that, he will be eligible to be added to the Leagues Cup roster as well. So I don't think that he would, I mean, he's not going to play tomorrow. You shouldn't show up expecting him to play. But hopefully, if Union make it to a deep run into this competition, hopefully we can see him debut sometime or another. So anything else to add on that signing, Paul?
Not really. Just overall excited for the signing. I think he could really provide a big impact. And then not regardless related to the signing, but we could talk about this in the future. But I think this offseason could be one of the biggest for the future of this team, looking at these contracts.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that have contracts expiring, contracts with options. Just a reminder for everyone listening, Town Hall, August 13th at Union Yards. It is a ticketed event if you didn't get a chance to RSVP. Tough, unfortunately. I have been in contact with the team trying to get an answer on if there's going to be a live stream or anything. They've told me they're going to have info for me soon, and I've followed up, and I haven't heard back just yet. So I'm hoping that means they're working on something in that regard. But we did see the link go out for questions submissions for the town hall, which indicates to me that the questions will be pre-picked. They won't be there won't be kind of an opportunity for back and forth, it seems, which does worry me a little bit. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see how that goes. I will be at that event, I believe, so I'll do my best to have as much coverage as possible. I will have a write-up after about it as well. So were you able to get a ticket to that, or are you planning to try to make it down there?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a ticket due to not knowing work schedule at the time. But hopefully there is a live stream, because I think this is really, I guess, big from the ownership to do this. I know the possible pre-selected questions raises some doubts, but I still think this is a big step for the ownership to come in front of the fans.
Absolutely. And I would also say that if you guys haven't read the meeting notes from the front office's meeting with the Sons of Ben, I think that's really valuable information to read up on and kind of digest. I think the front office, from my perspective, reading through it, seemed to be pretty transparent in what they were telling the group, and we've seen a few things that they've told the group actually come to fruition already, such as a couple signings. So I think that's something really important to go look at. That's up on the SOB's social media. Definitely check that out. And again, Town Hall on August 13th next week. We'll have coverage of that. Great to talk about a new signing. Honestly, it is really good to talk about a new signing that I'm excited about, and not someone that I have to try to find any little bits in info on to try to be excited about. It feels good, although I do think a lot of people are in that mindset where they have to be convinced. But regardless, of any signings, we've got a game tomorrow, and regardless of your opinion on Leagues Cup, it is a little bit of a big one. You know, it's a game in where Union are at home in a knockout tournament, and they view Leagues Cup as an opportunity to, one, not only win a trophy, two, get a little payday for the team and the players, but three, lock in a spot for next season's CONCACAF Champions Cup as well. So the team values this competition pretty highly, regardless of what your fans' justified opinions on the dynamic of Leagues Cup and how that's all played out. Let's just start before we even get into Union stuff. How are you enjoying Leagues Cup? Have you watched any of it? I know we've been kind of talking about this mad Inter Miami Toronto game that's happening right now. What's kind of your take on how Leagues Cup's been going so far?
It's entertaining to say the least. As you said, I've been watching this Miami game all night. It's currently 4-2 in like the 75th minute. Miami scored down a man to bring the lead to 4-2. I guess it's what the two leagues wanted. They wanted entertainment. They wanted value, I guess, provided. But one of my biggest takeaways is that it seems like these Liga MX teams have been getting knocked out left and right, and it really seems like it's just going to be a MLS competition. I know there's a couple in there, but I've been seeing tweets all over Twitter like, are these Liga MX teams even trying? Are they just here to be here? Stuff like that. So I guess that's a big takeaway I have from it. And then I wasn't able to go down to the soup for the Cruz Azul match. I saw some things about that. I heard it was a little, or not a little, it was crazy down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been, I guess, an entertaining tournament so far, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. I like I said, I think people's feelings on Leagues Cup are justified, but at the end of the day, I really enjoy kind of the craziness that comes with any type of knockout soccer.
Yeah.
And I enjoy watching those types of games and kind of seeing a bracket play out. And, I just love that kind of stuff. And I think you're right. There are still some heavy hitters from Liga MX in the tournament, but a few of them have kind of crashed out in the group stage. Tigres and Pachuca just kicked off, and they're facing each other, so that means one of them will not make it to the next round. So it looks pretty good right now for MLS team to make a strong run at winning the trophy again this year. But that being said, Club America is still in it as well.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough to beat no matter where they're playing, because they'll have plenty of fans in attendance no matter where they play. So still a lot to play for. But that does leave Philadelphia Union with a home match tomorrow night, Friday, 7:30 against CF Montreal. We've played CF Montreal twice already this season, and it's been two eventful games. The first one came on June 1st, right as Union were starting to kind of hit that downward spiral. If you can remember, it's been a while. It's been a long season, but Union conceded a goal in the first minute of that game. And they went down 1-0. Then Montreal had a red card right around halftime, which gave Union some hope. Union scored twice in 2 minutes in the second half. And then just 5 minutes after Union took that 2-1 lead, Jack Elliott received that red card. And a minute later, Montreal equalized the game to give Montreal a point in the standings and a draw overall. In the second meeting between the two, Union once again, I believe, they took the lead in that one, I believe. And then in the second half, Montreal ended up scoring 3 goals to get all 3 points, 4-2 against the Union. So it hasn't been a great time against Montreal, not only this season, but last season. You were talking about, Paul, too, was that crazy game. Oh, my God. I think Toronto just scored. It's 4-3. Yeah, this game's wild. But it hasn't been a fun time for the Union against Montreal. But with both of those disappointing results earlier this season, Union were significantly shorthanded and didn't have, most importantly, Andre Blake in net. So just regardless, before we kind of dig into how the teams are playing, all that, how are you feeling with Union being back to full strength? Jack McGlynn, Nate Harriel being back from the Olympics. Pretty much the only person that is not available is Makanya. Everyone else seems to be ready to go. How are you feeling about a full-strength Union team heading into the Leagues Cup knockout round?
I'm feeling good. Ever since Andre Blake came back, we've seen how this team has played. They won both their they won they've been down they beat New England 5-1 in his return, then they won 3-1 or 3-0
Yeah.
the next game back. And it's crazy how, we all know Blake is a massive player, like one of the best in the league. But I just find it crazy how just him added to this team, it creates such, me and my friends talk about it. He like gives, I guess, a team like a relax. Like they know if they can go, they can push up on attack, and they have a guy like Andre Blake back there who will be able to help them out. If
Yeah.
so, like gives them, I guess, a sense of relaxation all around the field.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling good. We know how this Union team can be when fully healthy. So before, I guess, I know we said we talk about predictions. I'm not going to give a score, but I feel like the Union will be able to pull this one off, even though games against Montreal are known to be hectic.
Yeah, I think I think you share that opinion, Paul. I think the tune kind of has changed around this team a little bit. I don't think anyone's expecting them to go out and win that MLS Cup right now, but I think that that kind of doomsday, the world is ending, we suck mentality has kind of gone out the window, and maybe we're kind of realizing like, hey, you know, Andre Blake is a big part of this. Other people being out for international duty and injuries was a big part of this. And this is largely the same team that has had a lot of success over the couple of years. And I think you're exactly right on that point of Andre Blake and kind of that just reassurance that he adds to the team. It's kind of like that friend when you have when you're growing up when like everything's going wrong, you like look to the one friend to be like, all right,
Yep.
what do we do here? And for a while, the Union didn't have that, and just like they would give up a goal and the whole team would kind of look around with their hands up like, what's going on? And no one was taking accountability. No one was grabbing each other and saying we need to be better. There was just a lot of looking around, and I think, like you said, Andre Blake not only adds that kind of reassurance, but he's added, Jim Curtin talked about this today, he's added a lot of confidence to the team too, not only to the defense, but the midfielders are playing with more confidence, and they know that if they mess up, they have good defense behind them. And then it's translating to the forwards as well. Obviously, Ty Baribo's been on an absolute tear. It sounds like Mikael Ua has had a little bit of good training. So I'm hoping that Union can keep that going with their game against Montreal and kind of put the gas to the pedal. And another thing Jim Curtin said is this Montreal team is set on how they want to play. They want to play out of the back. They're going to take risks moving the ball forward and getting players up in transition. And Union will have an opportunity to win the ball back high up the pitch and hit them on the counter. And Jim Curtin says, while he wants to do that, he wants to make sure it's not one of those back and forth, 4, 5, 6 goal games. And I think with the defense back in shape, we should see a much more compact and sound Union team. I guess let's pivot kind of to talking about just where Montreal has been the last couple games leading up to Leagues Cup. In their last 5 games, this is MLS and Leagues Cup play. They have 2 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses in those 5 games. But in Leagues Cup play, they advanced to the knockout rounds with a 4-1 loss to Orlando and a 3-2 win against San Luis, which are results that give me confidence, honestly, when I look at those. Orlando is a decent team. They have had their struggles. They are kind of one of those teams that are unpredictable. They can play well any given game. But a 4-1 loss is pretty convincing. And then a 3-2 win against San Luis. I think that is a decent win, but I don't think it's anything to write home about. And I think the one thing to take away from it is the 2 goals they did concede. And I think the biggest takeaway is that this Union team should be able to find goals against Montreal. Where do you see that kind of that goal success if Union are able to find it coming from tomorrow night?
One man that I have grown to fall in love with, and a lot of Union fans have, is Ty Baribo. Every time I feel like he puts the ball in the net, it's gone in. He's honestly a striker that we've been craving for a while. I know Carranza was really good at putting the ball in the back of the net, but I feel like he did it often. He shot often and he had his goalie saves, but I feel like not that Carranza wasn't clinical, but I feel like just Ty Barigo is that clinical guy that we've been waiting for. He shoots from everywhere. He's just a massive part of this team. I'm really glad that he showed Curtin who he was in practice, and now we've given him his opportunity, and that he didn't try to force his way out.
Yeah.
I'm really glad, and I feel like he's grown to become one of the main focal points of this team in the last month or so.
Absolutely. I mean, I think he is the number one striker for this team right now. Mikael Ua has not been the consistent striker that, everyone kind of hoped he would be. He's shown glimpses of really strong play, but at the end of the day, he does a lot off the ball and off the stat sheet. But like you said, especially with Julian Carranza leaving, we needed someone to put balls in the back of the net, and Ty Baribo has stepped up and to his credit, like you said, Jim Curtin admitted he could have forced his way out. He could have asked to leave, and he put his head down, worked hard in practice, and waited for his turn. And he's gotten it, and he's taken it with every opportunity he can. A stat I put out a couple weeks ago on the 30th of July, so I guess last week, of seven, Baribo had scored 7 goals in 8 games when I made this tweet. 6 of those goals have been scored with his first touch, and all but one of them have been inside 12 yards out. So it's showing that if you give this guy service, he's gonna put the ball away, and that really bodes well when you've got players like Kai Wagner whipping balls in, Jack McGlynn, who's just coming back from the Olympics, that can play balls to him. You can talk about Mikael Ua all you want, but the guy stretches defenders out of position. And if you give someone like Ty Baribo space in the box and service, that's looking like goals for the Union. So yeah, he's been really, really big. I did put out a piece kind of highlighting just how good he's actually been. And at the time of that article, he had the 3rd highest goals per 90 minutes total in MLS. And obviously with MLS not playing right now, that still rings true, which is kind of crazy for a guy that couldn't sniff more than 5 minutes last season or even earlier this season. So credit to Ty Baribo. He's been absolutely incredible. Hopefully he can keep that going. And hopefully that kind of bleeds over to the other strikers as well, and motivates them to put their head down and just keep working and keep trying to get those goals. Montreal, their biggest goal threats, Ibrahim and Joseph Martinez. We did see both of those guys score against Union this season. Montreal, they're not a crazy goal scoring team. They've only scored 32 in MLS play, which is 17th best in the league. They've given up 49 goals, which is the 4th highest in the league. So Union do have an opportunity not only to score goals, but like I said, I think with that back line, Union's defense should be looking a little bit better and a little bit more sound against a team, even though they do like to get up and kind of take some chances. So I think kind of with that, it's probably a good time to talk about some starting lineups. And with Nate Harriel coming back, with Jack McGlynn coming back, it seems like they've had some good week in practice. I think they should be good to go tomorrow. Let's just start with that back line. Obviously, I think everyone's going to say Andre Blake as a goalkeeper, so we can probably say that. But who are you thinking at that right back? You think Nate Harriel comes right back into the side, or do we kind of thank Olivier Mbaizo for his service during Leagues Cup and continue starting him on the right side?
I do think Harriel will be put back into the starting lineup. Um, Now, I will say Olivier Mbaizo played phenomenal when Harriel was out at the Olympics. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something that is going, I guess, quiet. I don't want to say quiet, but it's something that hasn't really been spoken about is how well he's been playing in replacement for Harriel, showing the talent that Curtin knows he has and the way he can play with this team. But I do think Harriel will slot right back in.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at that center back pairing against Cruz Azul, Union did they went with Jack Elliott and Damian Lowe, and I believe the game before that it was Jack Elliott and Jacob Glesnes. Correct? Do you remember?
I'm looking right now. Correct. Elliot and Glesnes.
Yep. So how you kind of feeling on that one? I think my mind. I think that was probably just a night off for old Jacob. But
Yeah.
how you feeling? You think Damien starts? Maybe we see Jacob and Damien, or do you think it'll be Jacob and Jack?
I think Jacob and Jack. I think we're I guess Curtin's gonna go back to his I guess not as comfortable, but his like what he feels I guess comfortable is the word.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Which then leaves Kai Wagner on the left-hand side. I don't think there's any questions about that, especially with Kai being in the press conference today. We know he's not hurt. We know he's there. He'll be good to go on the left-hand side, getting up and down, whipping balls in for Ty Baribo and Sam Adeniran, maybe Mika Lua, whoever's the second starting forward. We'll talk about that in a sec. But in that center defense, well, I guess we should say we're assuming we're lining up in the diamond, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so too.
I assume so.
So with that diamond at the bottom there in the number 6, you think we're sticking with Jose? I think he's played pretty well the last couple games. I think that's my choice, but what do you think?
Yeah, my choice would be Martinez as well. Since coming back from the Copa, he's been absolutely phenomenal for the midfield.
Yeah, I agree, and I also think that having your starting goalkeeper and your defender behind you, let him go out there and kind of bully that Montreal midfield and put his stamp on the game. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think this calls for a Jose Martinez type game where he just is running everywhere and really just cleaning up business. On either side of the diamond, I think this is where we're going to kind of see some switches. Against Charlotte, we had Ali Bedoya on the left-hand side and Quinn Sullivan on the right. Against Cruz Azul, we saw, let's see here, same thing, I believe. Ali Bedoya on the left and Quinn Sullivan on the right. With Jack McGlynn coming back, do we see him getting the start? Do we see him coming off the bench? What's your thoughts on either side of the diamond here Friday night?
I think Jack will come in. You're going to see both Harriel and McGlynn come back, especially with they were back in for the Cruz Azul match. They really had the week off.
Uh-huh.
I guess not rest, but they had like the week off in training to get ingrained back with the team. So I
Yeah.
think you'll see both of them or McGlynn come back in. And then the right side, this is always the tough part.
Yeah.
Honestly, you might see Bedoya back out there. He started every game so far. Might as well just keep the streak going.
Yeah, I think, I think I lean
Especially
toward. Go ahead.
especially in like a knockout phase, it's good leadership to have on the pitch.
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say. I think that is an important piece to this is having someone with leadership out on the pitch. I think Bedoya will provide that. And then the other reason I think that is when Jack McGlynn does start in the midfield, I kind of like when Ale plays with him on the other side because it allows Quinn Sullivan to be an option off the bench, which I think makes the team better throughout the whole game. It may weaken the starting 11 a little bit, depending kind of how you look at it. But I like having a dynamic attacking player coming off the bench. Although I do really enjoy Ali Bedoya off the bench as well. I think he provides really, really great, a unique attacking option. It's not the type of attacking option that you would think of like a Nilsinho, but he attacks really unique spaces against really tired players in a way that I really enjoy and admire watching. But it is certainly a different dynamic than someone like Quinn Sullivan off the bench. So, long story short, I think I'm going to agree with you. I think we're going to see Jack take his spot back on the left, and then Bedoya on the right hand side. No question for me at as who the number 10 is. I think it's going to be Daniel Gazdag. You agree? Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's go over these strikers then. We've seen. I can't remember if it was in Leagues Cup, but we have seen Sam Adeniran get a start already for Union over Mika Dubois. So what's your striking duo tomorrow?
I think Ty Baribo is a lock. He's got it. Like you said, he's our number one striker option. I feel like he's a lock. And the only way he's not playing is if he's hurt, to be honest. I do think you might see Ura play. I would love to see Sam play, but I think Ura and Baribo, I think Baribo is the perfect counterpart for the way Ura plays. I think the way the two of them play together is just exactly what Curtin wants and looking for, and they just set each other up perfectly. I know Sam is kind of not a similar player to Ura, but they both have pace on them. But I think you'll see Ura up top with Ty tomorrow night.
I think this is going to be the one position I disagree with you on, and only because I think one of the main points you went out and get a guy like Sam Adeniran is his ability to annoy the shit out of defenders with the ball. And we know, like Curtin said, Montreal's going to stick to their way, which is playing out of the back, trying to put passes together, build their way up from the defense all the way up to the field while committing players forward. And Union are going to try to win the ball back as high up the pitch as they can. How do you do that? You stick someone like Sam Adeniran who's going to run fast and physical and nonstop at defenders who are nervous and tired all game long. I think you could say that's you save him for the end of the game. But if that's your game plan is to turn the other team over while they're trying to play it out of the back, it seems like a Sam Adeniran game to me. That being said, I don't think I'd be upset with Ua starting. I completely see the positives that you're pointing out that he brings, especially when paired with Baribo. But to me, I don't know. Something is sticking out. This seems like a game for Sam to get in there and cause some havoc like he did against Cruz Azul late in the game that led to the equalizer. So I'm going to go with Sam. I think that's the only one that we ended up disagreeing on. So it should be a pretty normal starting 11 for Union, if you will, barring that one prediction that I'm making. Let's jump to scores. What are you thinking? Union win this one, and how convincing do they win it?
I do think they'll win. I feel like there's going to be some chaos, like there always is with Montreal Union games. I really don't know what it's going to be yet. I just feel like there'll be something that goes down, especially with it being the Leagues Cup in the knockout stage. And the fact that both goals that Montreal allowed against St. Louis were penalties. Both goals St. Louis scored were penalties. So I feel like something's going to go down. I do think the Union will win. I'll go a 3-1 win.
A 3-1 win. Okay. I like that. I think I'm leaning kind of towards the same thing. I think you're right. I think this is going to have a little bit of a flair to it. Obviously with that red card to Jack Elliott in the first game, I don't think there's bad blood, but there is a little bit of history and some tension there, obviously, and just the games between the two have been like bizarre. So I think you're right. I think there will be some interesting back and forth and some fireworks to be had on Friday night. But at the end of the day, I think Union. This is a game Union need to win. They should win this game at home against maybe not in the standings, but dare I say a lesser opponent. Like, I don't know if that's disrespectful, but when you look at where Union have been and where Montreal have been over the last couple seasons, Montreal has put some good seasons under the belt, especially with Nancy there. But over the longer course and more consistently, Union have been the better team, and they are on an upward swing right now. So they need to get this one done. They need to, Jim Curtin said it, survive in advance, get through this game, and then worry about whoever it is that we're playing next week. If you haven't looked at the bracket yet, if Union win, they would play the winner of FC Cincinnati and Santos Laguna, I believe. Which, if it is FC Cincinnati, Union will have to travel. Otherwise, they will host another game at home. So I'm hoping Union get through this game tomorrow with, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say a 3-1 win. I'm going to go Ty Baribo brace and welcome back Jack McGlynn. I'm going to say he's going to get the third goal, a nice left footer from outside the box. Any goal predictions from you, or just going with the 3-1 win?
I'll take Baribo. I can see Gazdag penalty being thrown in there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go Bedoya.
Okay, right on. I think those are good shouts. Always, Gazdag PK is always a good shout, unless it's a penalty kick shootout. Then, yeah, whew, man. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's gonna just about do it for us on Doop on the Volley tonight. If you're hanging out, trying to watch a little bit of soccer, there is a couple other Leagues Cup games that are still going on. We got Tigres and Pachuca tied 0-0 in the first half. Miami just defeated Toronto 4-3 after a really wild game there. Seattle's hosting LA Galaxy. That's probably the one I'm going to be tuning into. And then let's see who's the last one here. San Jose is facing off against Necaxa. So a couple good games for the end of the night, and then we've got a full slate on Friday to end the round of 32 Leagues Cup action. So I'm sure Paul will be watching a little bit of it. Yeah. I'll be watching the rest of the games. If you guys want to come chat on Twitter about it, come hang out. But thanks for tuning in for our first episode in quite a while. We're going to try our best to be a little bit more consistent. Life gets in the way. But regardless, great to talk Union soccer with y'all. And hopefully next time we talk, we're talking about the round of 16 Leagues Cup. And if you're at the game tomorrow, come say what's up. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good night, everyone.